Today we are going to cover how to open a Lamborghini Murcielago front headlights to clean the interior of them instead of having to buy new headlights, refurbished headlights, or pay an exorbitant amount of money to have someone else do it. There's a lot of helpful information on the internet to how to do this from a lot of people who risked their headlights, but I have not seen a video that properly explains how to do this. It took some trial and error for me, and I thought today I would kind of show my process, how I did it, the tools that I used, to hopefully help someone else out there who's going through this same issue so that you can go tackle this project yourself with confidence. So let's go ahead and get started, and let's talk about the tools that we use to separate these headlights that you'll need. A regular razor blade, this one I just got from Harbor Freight. You'll need some trim plastic poppers. These ones seem to be the best ones, just the straight, thicker plastic ones. You can get these off Amazon. This one also helped. It came in a package once again on Amazon. Very easy to use. One of the most critical items that I was told about from some other people on the forums, like South Lake Lambo and a lot of the other guys who put a lot of effort into doing this, is a tool that is used to separate phone glass in phone repair. It's basically a very thin piece of metal. It's very durable. It does bend. You can notice these were not custom bent. This is just what happens when you're running this through the side, and we'll explain that process. I also wrap these in tape to help because it's extremely hard on your hands. It will cut you, which is why I recommend gloves. You can see what it did to my glove. This is a new glove. It cuts right through it and eventually eats on your hand. Also from Harbor Freight is just a little pick tool. It was extremely helpful to get some of the extra gunk out. I guess this isn't a necessity, but you just need a flashlight so you can properly see where the glue is. It really helps. This was by far the lifesaver of the whole thing. This is, I guess, a trim popper as well, or a rivet popper, and I've saw this on the forums. Essentially, this separates the glass, and what you do is you separate it under there. We'll explain that. And a pair of pliers. To show you an up close, be very careful with this, of the glass on what the glass actually looked like. So if this will focus, trying to get it to focus, you'll see here's your glass. You have this lip right here, and then as you go in, there is this lip. The glue goes in between this channel and through this side too, so it's very difficult, as most people have described, I'm sure you've already read, to be able to properly get under that lip. In addition to that, set this down very gingerly. The channel in here is a very deep channel, and there are several, let me get this to focus, you can see little notches. These go all the way around. What this is it allows that lip on the glass to sit on that, and there's a very small gap in this channel to be able to bend that spooger or that tool up in there to make the cut. So I'm going to put the glass back on now, refocus and zoom, and I'm going to show you how to start those cuts now that you know what the glass looks like. So the first tool that you're going to want to use, I apologize if I misspoke earlier, is just a regular utility knife. You're going to want to cut out the main rubber here because there is a good lip here on the outside that needs to be removed, and you'll get some good chunks of rubber in there, and you want to take it all the way back to the glass. So what I did is I extended the blade, and I did it two ways. I put it angled down but to the back to where I'm hugging the bottom of this plastic lip like this, very slowly in even pressure, cut all the way down on that side. Then I'd go to the top and I'd focus on putting it at the top of the glass to where this is pushing up against the glass, so you're basically trying to pull out that entire bead of glue, and I'd run that all the way down, feeling the back of the glass, run it all the way down, nice smooth pressure. Essentially at that point you can just peel off this good chunk, and you think you're doing so good, but that is really just the beginning of it all. But you want to do that all the way around the light. Once you get all that initial glue out, and it's a pretty good chunks, you'll feel very successful about it. That's when you move to the glass separating tool, and your tool will initially look just like this, very straight, good tool. But because of that lip on this glass, that lip sits there like this underneath the glass. You can't do this. You have to get under it. So the best way to do this, I don't know what angle this would be, but you want to take your hand with your glove, you always want to wear a glove for this because you will cut up your hand. I highly recommend you wear a glove. You essentially put it in at this angle and you just work its way down. You'll feel it cut through to the bottom and it will essentially stick out like this. This is when you can make your first cut. I don't recommend trying to bend it up or anything like that. You're just going to bend this tool. I'd start up here and you want to pull down. It may get stuck and you're definitely going to feel it catch on some plastic. It's going to feel like it doesn't want to go with these lips that are underneath here that I showed you. It's going to want to catch, so it's going to stop. It's okay. Go back through, put it back at that angle, just like that, cut again. Pull all the way down. Keep doing this several times if you can without trying to do anything new, and eventually I pull up, I pull down, I pull up, I pull down. I'm doing this in a lot of motions to try to break up that glue. And essentially that glue, it begins to ball up in there. And you can see it if you shine a flashlight on this glass and you look, it allows you to better differentiate between the black and the glue. The hiding it goes away and you'll be able to see where that is and just keep going. You're going to want to do an initial cut all the way around. This is the toughest one on your hand, that first initial cut. And as you're trying to work it back and forth, work all the way down. I would not focus too much on these corners. These corners are brutal. They are what keep this thing intact at the very end when everything else is pretty much gone. Just work your way down, doing some initial cuts with that angle. This bottom piece is very difficult too. Just work on getting as much as you can. When you feel it bind, don't force it. Just go to the other side, cut through, work all the way around, work all the way around. Once you get that piece done, I like to do a little bit of cleanup. And that's where this tool comes in. You have to be ginger, but not too ginger, but I mean, enough to use force. Don't be scared of it and don't be dumb, and you're not going to have any problems. Essentially, I'd put this in at the exact same angle. I'm not going to force it in there. I'm just going to do it to where it wants to go, and I just pull it down. And what you're going to see happen is that glue is going to start balling up and you're pulling that glue. You're just going to keep doing this. This is going to bring so much glue out of that inner lip that it's going to free up more space for you to go back and take this tool and get deeper that time, and deeper as you go. So occasionally, as you go around, just take this tool, see if you can force it in between there. Eventually, you'll get it all the way flush. You can pull that tool all the way down and clean up some of that glue that's in there. It's extremely helpful because that glue, it balls up, it stays in there, you can't get it out. This is a really important piece that at least I found to be able to have better cuts when you go back with this tool, because eventually, the more you try, you're going to try to push it in further and further and further. Eventually, this tool is going to get warped and bent and everything else in between. I've seen a lot of people bend these things. To me, this kind of happens naturally. I used about 4 or 5 of these just because I decided to reset. But if you just apply a slight bend, just a straight bend on that, just like that, you'll notice how this tool, it is just bent around my hand. It just fits perfectly. I didn't bend it that way. It's just because of the sheer force when you're pulling it. This is a really critical piece once you get most of that stuff cleared out, because that is going to allow the tool to kind of get up underneath that glass just a little bit more. So now you'll do the same sort of thing. You'll have to figure out a way to get in there, and then as you just kind of shove it and figure it out, boom. Now you're almost level. That tool is now hooked up on the other side of the glass, and you will just pull that tool all the way down, working it back and forth, up and down. I do the same exact motion. I just pull it. And eventually, you'll get more. Take this tool. You'll have way more space. Clean it. Work your way on all the major pieces. Don't really worry about the corners. Just focus on getting the straights the best that you possibly can. Eventually, what I would do, after you feel very comfortable that you've gotten a lot of this piece done, I would recommend kind of trying to bend this into a bit of a, I don't know, I'm just going to call it a shovel. I don't know if you can see that. This is not a perfect bend by any means. I don't know if you're able to properly see this. What you want to imagine is you want a tool to where you can get underneath the corners. You're not going to be able to pull this. You're not going to be able to do anything fancy. I recommend finding a corner that you can get into and just pushing straight in. Just kind of cutting it the best you can, straight in. Work your way around. Work your way here. These are corners. Corner, corner, corner. Keep going the best you can. And after you feel very comfortable that you've done a really good job, this tool comes in. You do not want to force this, but this is going to allow you to see exactly how close you are. What I would do is you're going to want to take the widest part. In this case, you see how this fork is wider than this fork. I was reading on the forums. You're going to want the wider fork on top of the glass to increase the surface area so you're not going to apply too much strain in one specific point. What I would do is I'd pull this glass into my chest. I would turn this, like if I was going to work on this side, I'd turn the glass like this. I'd apply my body here on this workbench, and I'd put this tool in that little lip to where I'm essentially pushing it into my body, and I have this tool. And I just apply gentle pressure. And I just work my way all the way around this entire light fixture, just kind of loosening things up. You're not applying too much pressure. You're not applying too much force. You're just trying to work your way around. And after you do that, you've kind of freed some stuff up. Go back with your tools. Take your time. Keep cutting. Just keep, even though you feel like you're not even getting stuff sometimes, you'll start getting little shavings of plastic from you cutting the plastic in the back or the bottom of this. Just keep going, clearing it out, taking this tool, getting as much glue as you possibly can. See if you can focus, this way, pulling it up as far as you can in the corner. Eventually, I start checking things to see which corner is going to free up the best. For whatever reason, this side always seemed to be the hardest. There was a lot of glue built up here. It never really worked. Normally, this corner, or this corner would free up. It was different on both lights. I think on this particular light, this was the corner that freed up the best. On the other light, it was this corner that freed up the best. But how you check is you put this tool here, and you can do this across the whole thing, and gently apply pressure. And what you're going to notice and what you want to look for is the glass moving the plastic housing behind it, where you see this plastic housing gently move behind here. And it's very subtle. If you don't see this move and you just see plastic over here kind of warping, you have to watch to where you see the plastic kind of do this when you apply that pressure. Look for that plastic to kind of just do this. And you know that it's separating from these two things when you see that. If they're not separated, you're not going to get any movement. You're just going to be bending a little bit of this lip here, but the internal will not move on this glass. I don't know if we can properly show it here, but if you can see right here, you would want to look for something like this. Well, I don't really want to break this glass. Let me see if I can get a... Yeah, it's not going to work. There we go. This is what you're looking for. Just a little bit of play. You can see the plastic in there. I don't know if you can quite make that out. Let's see if I can zoom in on this. You're going to want to watch. See that plastic? This is what you want to look for. If you see that, you know you're working it pretty good. It's not going to pull up all the way, but you know you're on the right track. So just keep taking this tool and gently applying pressure all the way around the light. Just keep applying pressure all the way around the light gently. What I have found, whatever corner you feel like has the most success, the most opportunity to separate, I would use this tool right here. This was the saving grace for this project. Now, it doesn't matter which corner it is. I'm going to pretend it was this corner up here that had the most luck because it's the easiest to show on camera. When you feel that, you apply that little bit of pressure, it's going to start to separate. I would take this tool and do everything in my power to gently, ever so slightly, get that wedged. And I'm going to show you a close-up of that. That is what you want. This is what would happen. Now, if you can see, there is now a significant gap here. This is going to allow you, with absolute ease to get in there. Now, of course, it narrows down back here because this is still stuck. But by applying that little bit of pressure, you can now take another one of these, put it underneath that glass, and I would run it like this with all my force, just gently, to where it would start to separate the light. Now what I found on the first light is when I took this tool and I worked my way down. Of course, it has freedom now on this one, but it'd be stuck there, it'd be wedged. What would eventually happen is that I would get enough pop to then take this tool, let's try to separate that one, to where I would get the next kind of plastic in between there. So it's just applying even consistent pressure on these corners. And if you had another one of these, it'd be great. But at this point, I didn't have it take more than 2 at one point. You just take this piece of plastic right here, and you'll just feel you'll just feel it go, and it separates. And it is really easy at that point. After these plastic tools at the end are a real lifesaver. I did not feel comfortable using anything that was metal, but these plastic trim tools did a phenomenal job to kind of get that last final cut, and you just feel it pop off. And then when you get the opportunity to separate that glass, it is the most liberating feeling that you can have. You have just successfully separated this. There's going to be a lot of excess glue. What I used this was my primary tool that I used to get this out. It just fit right in this channel, and I just pushed it up, and you can still see a little bit of residue. It just went right through. It cut through it like butter. It was no big deal. I did that all the way around. I had to spend a lot of time on the actual glass. It sticks extremely, extremely well, but I got 98% of it gone. So I feel comfortable cleaning this light up now. Then applying regular black silicone is my plan. What I intend to do on the big straights, because these are easy, maybe just do a line, a line, a line, a line, a line, a line down here, and a line down here to limit the amount of stuff here. Because the reality is what you see, these holes on the Murci here, here, and there's a couple behind this plastic lid here. These are vents. You can see on the back side of this, these tubes and these tubes down here are vents to the outside. So these headlights are not sealed from the elements. That's why some of them do just develop true condensation, not some of the plastic radiating. I've also been told that you can separate this component from here. It's just with a little bit of silicone or that same sort of glue under here. So if you very carefully lift up or kind of pry to where you can see, my lights look great. I don't see any reason why I would need to do that. So I'm just going to clean these up very good and apply glue in that fashion. And clean the glass very well. Attach it on. And then on this little gap here, I would go around with a final bead of silicone. Wipe it on. That way it would still be sealed, but it would not be as hard to cut if I ever have to do this again, which I probably will in my lifetime because I don't plan on ever selling my car. So this is a great fix for these cars. It will make them look like $1 million when you're done. I think every Murci owner should do this. If you see any kind of white here, what I found on mine is it was not condensation, but rather similar to what your car sits in the summer heat. The plastic, like on your dash of your truck or any other car that you had, radiates these, plastics essentially, and it radiates and sticks to the glass, so it creates this white film. You'll note mine particularly, it had it just around here. It looked very white and not good. My other light had it kind of extend past the black, but already just barely wiping it. It does take some force. I had to use alcohol to kind of break up some of the stuff, but it looks a million times better. I cannot wait to install this again on my car, and I hope that this video was helpful for everyone. It is not as bad as people make it out to be, but it does take your first light to really get the hang of it. I'm happy to help anyone that has questions. Believe in yourself, take your time, and be smart about it. And this glass is extremely strong. You don't have to worry. Just so to emphasize one more time, is you want this tool to go all the way to the lip. You do not want this tool to not be fully flush with that lip, because you want this piece to have as much surface area on that glass as possible. And don't go crazy with the force. Just keep working your way until you feel tension and work your way around. I hope that this video was helpful, and good luck.